Now we're into my favourite part of most books, which is the heavy support. I do like to make it rain, specifically with Devastators. Devastator Squad, 70 points in the previous book. They were the same, had the same stat line and everything. You've still got the Signum for the Sergeant, never forget that, because I think it boosts your ballistic skill for one of your members. When they're first coming out, I read something about they've got these special kind of boots or something like that. A load of rubbish. They're not relentless or anything like that. They don't have anything on them that means that they can snapshot or something like that. They can get an Armorium Cherub, which I would strongly suggest you take. But yeah, they're quite decent, and you can change you can give the Sergeant or Veteran Sergeant a combi weapon. He's got a combi grav there. They're still pretty good, but they're very vulnerable. You need to put them in cover. They can't really charge or assault as well. And you pay a lot for a squad that can be wiped out with a small blast template or something like that. They're still quite scary if you have 3 of them with las cannons and 2 plasma cannons. They still can be quite scary. Now these are the bad boys, the Centurion Devastator Squad. So it's 165 points. So they're a lot cheaper than they were before. In the previous Codex they were 190 points. Already that's 25 points cheaper, which is huge. Stat lines are exactly the same. They've got the decimated protocols, which they had before. They've got a slow and bulky, slow and purposeful and very bulky. You can change their weapons to give them a grav cannon and grav amp at 25 points per model. It's probably the best way to go for it, unless you're against lots of heavy armour. Then the las cannons are the best way to go. So you still have to add another 45 points onto that, give them all the las cannons. Then you could also give them missile launchers as well. But then you're sinking 35 points into each model for these extra weapons. And they've only got 2 wounds at the end of the day. Yes, their save is a 2, but they don't get invulnerable saves. So you get something with AP2 or AP1 that's going to cause them a wound pretty quickly. I'm a big fan of them, even though they can't run and things. I really do. I like the models with the weapons. It annoys me because they've basically got power fists. There's no reason for them to have those huge fists, and one would assume that they would almost be power fists. Ah well. Then the Thunderfire cannons. I have done a video on the Thunderfire cannons, because I have one. I don't know whether I put it up before this video or not, but either way, I've got a video on it. 100 points, it's quite cheap, and then you can have 2 more in one kind of group. My army, I'm going to have just the 2. There's no reason for me to have 3 or 4 or anything like that. I think 2's fine. Cannon itself has got 2 wounds, toughness 7, and the gunner, Tech Marine's got a save of 2+, which is pretty decent. Got decent armour. The Thunderfire cannon has got some really nice shots to it. I'll just quickly go over them. They're all 60 inch, and they're all barrage, so you can fire without having line of sight to your target. It's really cool. Surface destination, 60 inches, strength 6, AP 5, heavy 4, barrage blast. The airburst, strength 5, still heavy 4, it's barrage blast, but it ignores cover. And then subterranean, it's again heavy 4, barrage blast, but it's strike down. Got this rule called strike down. So you're going to have to look up your rule for strike down, because strike down isn't covered at all here. Pretty decent weapon. Predators, always like the Predators. I think they're great tanks. You're putting a lot of points into one model there though. It's got front armor 13. A lot of people assume that it's side armor 12. It's actually, its side armor is worse than a drop pod. It's 11. Predators, always best to get to the side of their armor, which is only 11. Which is crazy when you think about that their side armour is the same as an Iron Strider, or it's worse than a Dune Crawler, and it's a battle tank, and their armour's, I don't get it. But it's a Rhino chassis, so there we go, probably one of the reasons. But if you get 3 of them, you get the special rule called Kill Shot. 3 Predators in the same unit, they get Monster Hunter and Tank Hunter special rule, which is pretty cool. If you have them all with las cannons, it's going to cost you 140 points. 1 Twin las cannon and 2 Sponson las cannons, but nothing's really changed for them. Whirlwinds, again, you can have 2 additional ones. And they have the Whirlwind missile launcher. Again, it's barrage. 1 ignores cover and strength 4, and 1 is strength 5, which is just normal. But they're large ordnance blasts, and you don't need line of sight. Pretty good. And also, if you have 3 of them, they have pinning and shred, regardless of the missile type, which is pretty good. So to have pinning and shred on an ignores cover, pretty juicy, and they're very cheap. 65 points per model, so 195 points, less than 200 points. You're getting 3 vehicles that you can just hide behind somewhere and they can just have big large blasts, because it doesn't matter who you're up against, even Space Marines. If you have large markers and you putting 3 of them on there, that squad's pretty much going to be wiped out, you know, just by the amount of saves that they're forced to take. Vindicators, look at the points difference already. That's 120 as opposed to 65. The main difference is the front armour. It's got 13, but it's also got the demolished cannon, which is a short range, 24 inches, strength 10 cannon. If you have 3, they've got this line breaker bombardment. So I like how they're giving you vehicles in squadrons now, not too dissimilar to Imperial Guard. These two, firstly, the points cost has stayed exactly the same, but they have had a mix-up in their rules and things. The Hunters have this Savant interlocution, which it wasn't called that before, but each model's Sky Spear missile launch can re-roll dice when resolving its Savant lock special rule. So re-roll its Savant lock. It's got something that affects its other special rule, but the side armour is better than a Predator. It's 12. But the rear armour is less, it's only 10, and the front is less, it's only 12 as well. Sky Spear, that's one shot, armour bane, pretty decent, whereas your Stalker has got this Icarus Storm Cannon. If you've got 3 of them, I don't know why you would, they ignores cover special rule. So the Sky Spear missile launcher, Skyfire, as you would expect, but then the Icarus Storm Cannon now has Interceptor. If you watched my Space Marine Codex review before, the previous edition, it did not have Interceptor. I thought it's absolutely crazy that you've got 2 anti-air units for Space Marines and they don't have Interceptor. Well, now the Stalker does, which is great. But they are quite dedicated to anti-air, at least if you've got other flyers. The flyers can take out ground units as well as other flyers, so it's up to you which you prefer. But in my mind, I'd probably say flyers are more general purpose, because they can take out the ground units much easier than dedicated anti-air. Finally, in heavy support, you've got the Storm Raven gunship. This massive flying sweet potato, I don't know what you want to call it, but it's got crazy armour for a flyer, 12 all around, with 3 hull points. It's basically a flying Land Raider. It's almost the same points, 200. Passengers can still embark, but there's some special rules regarding that. You've got twin-linked assault cannon, twin-linked heavy bolters, 4 storm strike missiles, which are crazy. You've got the ceramite plating and things. They can carry 2 separate units. 1 unit of up to 12 and a single dreadnought, and it can carry jump infantry. You can give it las cannon, plasma cannon, multi-melter. Very decent delivery method. Safe, because it's a flyer, so not many things are going to be able to touch it. Even if they do, it's armour 12. It can get to where it needs to. It can drop off its cargo, and then it can just stay on the battlefield, zoom about, and pick things off with its missiles and its las cannons, multi-melters. It's very general purpose tool that they have, and I've seen it used to great effect. It's one of the best flyers out there that Space Marines have. Now we're into more tanks, and we've got the legendary Land Raider. When these came out in 95, 96, could even be 97 actually, I thought they were absolutely incredible. A couple of people had the old school Land Raiders. I thought they're just hilarious. They looked so cute. They were still pretty big, bigger than a Predator, but they had these tracks on the side, and I thought, nah, that'll never work. And then they brought these bad boys out, and this design is tried and tested. I'd like to get myself another Crusader at some point, an all plastic one, because the old school one, bolt guns were metal, and I think the frag launchers were metal too, and now it's all plastic multi-melter, you name it. So I probably will get one of those. But you can't go wrong with the Land Raider. Yes, they're 250 points, but you're getting 4 hull points. You're getting 14 armour all round. That's better armour as such than a Reaver Titan, or a Warhound Titan, or an Imperial Knight. 14 all round. It's incredible. Even a Warlord Titan has armour 15, the sides and the front, and 14 on the rear. Yes, it has the void shields, but for a standard tank, I say standard, one of these tanks to have 14 all around, absolutely incredible. And the weapon loadout it has is brilliant. You've got the God Hammer pattern, which has the 2 twin-linked las cannons, heavy bolters. You can have a missile launcher, you can have a storm bolter, you can even take a multi-melter, which annoys the hell out of me from the last codex, because you could do that in the last codex. The box doesn't come with a multi-melter. That's why it annoys me. They give you that option, but then they take it back from you. Then you've got the Land Raider Crusader, so a bit more close combat, more of your horde based. Orcs, Tyranids, this is the way to go. It really is. You can also transport a lot more units. You can have 16 guys in here, which is great. You can have more shooty Terminators, it's up to you. And then you've got the Redeemer. You've got these Flamestorm cannons, which just burn even Space Marines because they're AP3. So that's your close combat. You put your Assault Terminators in that. Don't worry about deep striking or anything, but your Assault Terminators in that with the Thunder Hammers, Lightning Claws. You drive it all the way up to your opposing Space Marines players' force. You disengage. You let rip with those Flamestorm cannons, and they're going to be in a whole world of pain. So they're all the Land Raiders. And then finally, we've only got one Lord of War. He is Marneus Calgar, the chapter master of the Ultramarines. I've heard stories of this fella. Apparently he lifted up a Necron pylon, put it on its side, and fired it at Necron army. What a legend. And he's got these gauntlets of Ultramar, which are kind of these ridiculous gauntlet that bump his strength up to 8, but they've also got kind of bolt guns in them as well. He's got this Terminator armour that's got a built-in teleport homer. One would have assumed that when they were designing Terminator armour that they'd all have the teleport homers built in, but I guess not. Anyway, yeah, he's pretty hench at 275 points, more than a Land Raider, but he's got some pretty ridiculous rules and things going on for him, and he's an Eternal Warrior too, so he never really dies. That's all the main units and things. Let's talk about the formations. Formations, I think this is actually the real reason why Games Workshop brought out this codex. Nothing to do with 7th edition or the fact that they didn't have a 7th edition for their most popular army. Nothing to do with that. All about formations. Do you know why? Because they're popping up absolutely everywhere. You buy the Start Collecting set and you get a formation in there. It's only got 3 units in it. It's got a Terminator Captain, Tactical Squad and a Dreadnought. But yet they call it the Fire Spear Strike Force. You still get a formation sheet with 3 unit, 12 models. You get it's a formation, apparently. These are all your formations, and this is the real reason I think. So you've got your Battle Demi Company. What's that you hear? Where can I buy the Battle Demi Company? Well, good news. Games Workshop have conveniently created a box set that has the Battle Demi Company in there. So you don't really have to click on all of the different tactical squads, the Assault Squad, the Devastator Squad, the Captain and the Dreadnought. Oh no. You can just click once and you will get that Battle Demi Company. This is where it has been going over the past few years with the one-click bundles and the formations. It's just a quicker, lazier way of drawing you in and buying a bundle, buying a box set. There's a dedicated box for this company. If you look at the recent releases, like over Christmas, there were dedicated boxes for formations. And now, when there isn't a dedicated formation for the box set, they go and put a formation in your box set. I'm not complaining. It's not a complaint. It's just a very animated observation. But anyway, these formations, if you're going to spend £135 or whatever it is on all of these models, you want some good rules, right? Well, you got some good rules, and also the formation. You can pick and choose from some of the different units. So it's not like you're penned in to just getting those models. Many people may take Battle Demi Companies. You can essentially take 2 Battle Demi Companies, and then you've got a Gladius Strike Force, and then you can get all your transports for free. Anti-Air Defence Force, unless you're really going up against an army that consists of flyers, I don't know why you'd ever want to use that much, unless your local Games Workshop all they use is flyers. That might come in handy. First Company Strike Force, 3 to 5 units from your Terminators and your Vanguard and your Stern Guard. Strike Force Ultra, this was the bundle. You had your, I think, 4 Terminator squads and a Storm Raven and a Venerable Dreadnought, and I think you could buy that, and I think that was about 100 something, but it did come with the super cool Terminator Captain, which is now in the Start Collecting box set. Again, that looks pretty beasty. You have the Reclusium Command Squad. Again, you can buy that as it is. You get this cool Chaplain model. It's a really cool model. He just allows them to re-roll failed hits in the first round of combat. Then you get the 10th Company Task Force. You essentially have up to 5 Scout Squads or Bite Squads. Stormwing. So you get 2 Storm Talons and 1 Storm Raven. A little bit like the Escort kind of thing that happened in the previous Codex. It just means that the Storm Raven has the Strafe and Run special rule. You can make 1 roll for the entire formation, and all of the units from the formation deploy from reserve, so that's pretty coal. You get a Centurion Siegebreaker cohort, again, just trying to push you on these assault Centurions. Land Raider Spearhead, this is pretty cool because you have three of any type, and they basically ignore shaken, stunned, weapon destroyed, immobilised and vehicle damage, as long as they're within 6 inches of one another. So you get 3 of them, all advancing, armoured behemoths. That's crazy. And then they can reroll fail to wound or armour penetration against gargantuan, super heavies, buildings that have mighty bulwark special rule. So you get three god hammers, all going up table, or just sat there, firing their 6 twin link lance cannons at a Titan. They can ignore all of these damage things. You get the Librarius Conclave, nice selection of psychers there. 3 to 5 librarians. I think I could probably do that. You can harness warp charges on a 3+ instead rather than a 4. You get the Armoured Task Force, 1 Tech Marine, Cronus maybe, 0 to 3, Thunderfire cannons, 3 to 5, either Vindicators, Predators or Whirlwinds. Essentially helps you in repairing the vehicles, but personally the Land Raider one is better. And then the Suppression Force, I just like the idea of this, that you've got 1 unit of Land Speeders and 1 unit of Whirlwinds. So you could have 3 Whirlwinds, and then you could have 2 Land Speeders, and what they do is they just go out, enemy within 18 inches, all shooting attacks, can re-roll to hit, and are treated as having infinite range. So that's phenomenal. On an Apocalypse game or something like that, you've got a Land Speeder that's 18 inches away, 3 Whirlwinds, open up, re-roll hit, unlimited range. That's incredible. So yeah, there are some good formations and things in there, some very good ones. And then finally, the end of the book, you get this massive massacre of Space Marines or Orcs, whichever side you're on there. Get the appendix, you've got the Warlord traits, chapter tactics, the combat doctrines, which I just feel like the whole game is just getting more and more complicated. There's more and more to remember, more and more to try not to forget. There's things, I mean the objective markers, but there's things that you, at your detriment, if you forget them, that can cost you the game or the battle, whatever. You must remember your combat doctrines now. All your chapter tactics, so you can pick a chapter, no matter what colour you are really, what colour your army is obviously, and then pick them, and then you can essentially have them for the whole game. Then you've got your armoury, Cyclone Missile Launcher, heavy 2 shots, you've got all of your weapons, your special issue war gear, like your Hellfire shells, your Storm Shield, 3+ invulnerable save, chapter relics, tactical objectives, and then your profiles. I've got pretty good eyesight, but even I am thinking that is getting a bit silly. I think that's probably font 8, if I'm right. I mean, that font is just, it's tiny now. I struggle, I really am struggling. It must be like font 8. Any smaller, you're going to get to a point where you need this on 2 pages. I'd rather have this larger, but have ranged weapons, melee weapons, but a larger font, and then have all your actual troops and HQ and thing profiles on a completely separate page. But maybe they'll do that in the next Codex. Probably next year. No, I don't know. But either way, it's a lovely, lovely Codex. I held on and on and on without getting it. I should have got it when it came out. But you know what I'm like. I still have this Codex, but it's a great improvement. Did we really need it? I don't think we did, because this would have been fine. But a lot of people would have started complaining that it didn't have formations and, you know, scouts and the dreadnoughts, things like that. So I do like the changes. It's definitely an improvement. I would have liked to have seen new units, because obviously last time they had new units. I don't know what new units I'd like to see in there, to be honest. I would have liked to have seen 1 or 2 new units. I mean, they changed the Devastator box set, which is a good box set anyway, but now it is incredible. And they changed the Assault Marine box set, which they could have got away with not changing that. That was perfectly fine. They still haven't brought out Thunderfire cannon in plastic. Still in resin, and no multi-melters with your Land Raiders still, your normal Land Raiders. But anyway, it is an improvement. It runs in at more pages than the previous one. It's got all those formations at the back. Scouts alone are worth getting it for their bump up, and Dreadnoughts now, put them in a drop pod, and then, you know, they're a lot more viable than they ever have been. There's still an army that's good at a lot of things, but not excellent at one thing, like many other YouTubers and wargamers have said before. They've got good transport, good armour, good weapons, good saves, toughness, initiative. They're all good at those things, but they're not excellent at transport or fast attack. They're not excellent at weaponry, like I'd probably say now Canicus and Scutarii are excellent at range, like Tau. They're not excellent at close combat, like, dare I say it, Orcs, Tyranids. They don't have the weapons of Eldar. Well, Eldar have the fast speed, they have the weapons, they have the big monsters. I mean, Eldar just have everything, and similar story with Necrons, really. But there we go. I shouldn't have really mentioned them in this. That's my kind of review of this Space Marine Codex. Space Marines are my largest army. I love them to death, and anything that just makes them slightly better is great. If you haven't already got this Space Marine Codex, I'd strongly suggest you get it for your army, even if you've got this older one. I know it's been a short time between the releases, but this just brings it into the new 7th edition and the new layout as well that I harked on about with the Orc Codex. And that's what happens. You really want something, and they do it, and then unfortunately they don't do it in the time that you wanted them to do it. They do it sooner and complain about it. If you can get this for 28 quid or whatever with your discount, I'd go for it, because it's really nice read. It's nice to look at the units and to pick and choose, and gets your general in your mind thinking as well, with all the formations and things, and getting things free and what units to include in your strike force. So that's it for my review of this Space Marine Codex. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor Protects.